Hello,
Hey,
good afternoon.
I've changed my scenario. It's the same teacher, but a different scenario.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's my mom's. This is
Oh,
where it comes from.
well, apparently she likes to read.
Yeah, she likes it even better than me.
Nice.
But I did take after her, the whole family actually. Um, but Álvaro, let's yeah. Mhm. Okay. So Álvaro, could you read chapter 16 to 25?
Yes,
There is a
I'm
lot
reading.
going on, right?
Yes, there's a lot going on. I probably missed some important information because I'm not familiar with this kind of reading, but I am understanding the main plot,
The main idea.
the
Okay,
main idea.
remember, we also have the version in Portuguese, just in case you want to double check some info you think you might be missing. So if you read something and it's not 100% clear, you can always check the translated version, but to always try the English one first.
And that's what I'm trying. Every time I try English.
Yeah, but we have talked about it before, right? It's not really difficult. It's not a very complex, a kind of complex language that we cannot understand. We can understand the main idea. And if we miss some details, we can check again. I have read the book 1,000 times. This is why I remember all the details by heart. So,
Yeah.
do you,
And
sorry?
I was going to say that I also watched the movie Pride and Prejudice. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's the recent one. I've never watched the first one, the first movie, but the movie I watched it was on Netflix.
Yeah,
Some
the
yeah,
version on Netflix is the version with Keira Knightley.
yeah. So some days before they excluded of the list of the movies, I watched it, and it's good.
So yeah, it's a bit different from the book, but it helps us understand the main plot.
Yeah, it
Okay,
helps.
so my first question, I'm not gonna start like going through the chapters because Leticia is supposed to show up. So let's see if she's gonna come here. But do you have a favorite part of the book so far?
Um, Not a favorite. I have my favorite character, but not any specific part of the
Who,
movie.
who's your favorite character?
Elizabeth, she's
Everybody's.
yeah, she's the favorite character of the most of people probably because
Yeah,
she's she's amazing.
yes,
And
and I have seen that she's like a, oh, I'm sorry, she's like a model of personality that some tests on the internet use. So you were like Elizabeth Bennet. She's so unique, and we get attached to her very easily because she's a smart girl. She's funny. She's witty.
yeah, but
She's
there is a actually there's a specific scene that a specific part of the book that I remember that I liked that was when Elizabeth refused to marry with that guy. I forgot his name
to
now.
marry Mr. Collins.
As Mr. Collins.
I would have
And
refused myself.
yeah, and something that I really liked was that her father called her to talk about it on the library, and I thought he would, I don't know, complain about her because she
Well, would make
avoid
her.
marrying. Yeah, but she was a nice guy because she was agreeing with her,
Yeah,
and
so we're going to talk about it because I think it's a very important moment in the book in which we really understand Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Bennet's characters. They are like absolutely different from one another.
yes, I cannot like Mrs. Bennett because she's so annoying.
Yeah,
I'm
she
sorry to
is, but
say that.
I know it's not as if I dislike her. I dislike her when she complains about Elizabeth not taking Mr. Collins, for example. But it's not as if, oh my God, I hate this character. I hate other characters. I hate Lydia, for example, the girls, Lydia and Kitty. Every time they come up in the book, like, oh my God, here come the annoying girls. But I cannot really hate Mrs. Bennet.
Yeah, I cannot like her because I don't know, she's so possessive. She wants
She's
to take the decisions for her
she's a
children.
control freak.
Yeah, I don't like this kind of person.
Yeah, me neither. But I think she's so silly that
Yeah,
she cannot carry her point anyway. So
that's the
because she's
problem.
not very smart.
Yeah, she's very
Okay.
silly.
So as for chapter 16 is when Mr. Wickham comes into the story. And in chapter 16, we see that Mr. Wickham tells his story to Elizabeth, who doesn't really think twice before accepting the story as a true story. So do you think you would have believed Mr. Wickham?
I don't know. I think I would think twice because I remember that he was talking about Mr. Darcy in some point about Mr. Darcy's father, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds suspicious. I don't know if I could trust him.
It's because you watched the movie, right?
Yes.
So
So
we are kind of biased when we watch the movie and we read the book. We are like, oh my God, how could Elizabeth? How could her? She's so smart.
yeah.
But maybe, do you think her opinion of Mr. Darcy at that point had an influence on her accepting Mr. Wickham's story?
Yes, because Mr. Darcy is kind of rude in the most things he says and do. So it's comprehensible that she would think something bad about him.
Mm-hmm. So I think, well, that's my point here. I think she accepted the story as true because she didn't like Mr. Darcy. If she
Yeah,
liked him, if she was friends with Mr. Darcy, she wouldn't have accepted Mr. Wickham's story, or at least that she would have tried to check the facts, right?
yeah,
So Mr. Wickham is the fake news guy. So
yeah,
he comes to, what's the name of? He comes to the city, right? He comes to the county, and he's like spreading rumors. And because everybody likes Mr. Wickham, everybody believes Mr. Wickham.
yeah. And the first impression about Mr. Darcy make them think this about him because
It's a very negative one.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Okay, Leticia is coming, so I'm gonna ask her. Hello, Leticia.
Hey, hello.
Your hair looks different this weekend.
Yes, I may straighten my hair.
You have
this
straightened it.
weekend.
Looks good. I like it. But I gotta say, I think I am the curly haired team. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I like to. It's temporary. It's not a permanent.
Ah, okay, good. So you're gonna have it back in a few days.
Yes,
It's good to
changing
change.
a little.
Yeah, it is good from time to time. Unfortunately,
Yes.
there aren't many things I can do. I can cut my hair. This is why I get my hair cut so often. I want to change something.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so Leticia, Alvaro and I were talking about Elizabeth, and when Mr. Wickham told Elizabeth about the story between him and Mr. Darcy, they grew up together, but Mr. Darcy was the bad guy. So, do you think you would have believed if you were in Elizabeth's shoes? If you listened to Mr. Wickham's story, do you think you would have believed in Mr. Wickham? You would have believed Mr. Wickham's story?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
So Mr. Wickham, he appeared in the city because he was in the militia, right?
Okay, I remember now because
Yeah,
I don't have a time for reading these last chapters. Do you?
But you
disposable?
remember the movie, right?
The movie in the book, I read the book in Portuguese a little
Okay.
time ago.
So
I
Mr.
remember
Wickham,
now.
yeah, he comes to the city they meet, he meets Elizabeth and her sisters,
Yeah.
and he tells the story to Elizabeth. Elizabeth is apparently the first person to hear Mr. Wickham's story about Mr. Darcy, and
Yeah.
she believed it in the first time, right? She
Yeah.
didn't ask any questions. Do you think
True.
you would have believed that story, that fantastic story about Mr. Darcy?
Maybe it's common Elizabeth believe in the story because the Mr. Weekend it's very nicely.
He's very nice.
But
He's charming.
yes, so Elizabeth was not like Mr. Darcy because of their motivators. So that's coherent. Coherent. I don't know.
Coherent.
Coherent. She's believing in Mr. Weekend.
So basically, she believed in Mr. Wickham because Mr. Wickham was the nice guy,
Yeah.
sympathetic, open, friendly, and Mr. Darcy was the very opposite.
Yes, maybe this. And so Elizabeth trying julgamento. I don't remember the.
Elizabeth's, in this case, we can say judgments.
Yes, Elizabeth judgments Mr. Darcy is because the characteristic this person. So it's I believe it's normal. She thinks this form.
It was Elizabeth's, actually, it was Elizabeth's prejudice, right?
Yes.
She didn't really know who Mr. Darcy was, but she thought he was, he wasn't a nice person. She didn't like him. He said she wasn't beautiful. So
yeah, everything is healthy for this.
Yeah. So yes, we agree that at that point, maybe we would have believed Mr. Wickham's story, but because, we know that she shouldn't have, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next chapter is a very short chapter, and it talks about the invitation for Netherfield's ball. And I remember all the sisters and all the family and everybody was in a fuss because they were really expecting the ball to come. And this is when Mr. Collins says he wants to have the first dances with Lizzie, and Lizzie is like, oh my God, how can I get out of this? Of the situation, and she can't. So why do you think there was so much expectation towards this ball, this Netherfield ball? Why do you think people were so excited about this ball?
Because this ball in Netherfield is a big ball. A lot of different people, probably Mr. Wickham staying in this place, and this ball.
All the girls were crazy about Mr. Wickham.
Yes, and other guys, the officials.
Yes, the officers.
The officers, yes, other officers. I think this is interesting for these persons in this moment, and about the family. The family rich offer is this ball. I think
yes, so, the Bingleys are a rich family living in a countryside place, right, in a small place, and they are throwing a big party.
Yeah, it's common. It's oh my God, the topic of the moment.
Yeah, it's yes, it was Netherfield trending topics on Twitter at that point.
Yeah.
So are you going to Netherfield? Are you going to Netherfield? And everybody was talking about it because everybody wanted to go to Netherfield.
Yeah.
Alvaro, why do you think people were so excited about it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the reason, because it's a small city and there is a lot of popular people there, like this one, the Darcys and the Bingleys. So that's why I think it's so popular.
Everybody wanted to go to Netherfield. And what about the scene in which Mr. Collins says, because Elizabeth, she wants to, you know, she always wants a good joke, right? And she asks Mr. Collins if it's okay for a man of the church to go to a ball, to dance. And then this is when Elizabeth gets an invertida, right? No, it's totally okay. I want to have the two first dances with you. So what do you think Elizabeth felt at that moment?
Talking to Mr. Collins.
Yes.
I think she was pretending that she would like to dance with him because
she couldn't say no, right?
Yeah, she couldn't say no.
So poor Elizabeth at that point, her smartness couldn't get her out of the situation. She had to accept to dance with Mr. Collins. Okay, but now let's go to the ball, right? This is, I think, maybe the most exciting part of this, you know, these 10 chapters that we read. So what were, in your opinion, the most important and the meaningful situations at the ball? Because many things happen at the ball.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what happened at the ball.
Elizabeth try find the Mr. Winterson.
Wickham, yeah, she cannot find Mr.
Wickham. Yeah, but he don't hear in this ball. And the Mr. Darcy trying more next to Elizabeth. It's
he tries to get closer to Elizabeth.
Yes.
And
she don't understand why he won't stay next to me.
Yeah, he was always around Elizabeth. He finally asks her to dance with him. She accepted because she was caught by, you know, it was a surprise for her. She said yes. And in the movie, there is an interesting scene. She's talking to Charlotte, and she says, why did I just say yes to him? I swore to loathe him, to hate him for eternity, and I just accepted to dance with him. And then I think in the movie, maybe not in the book, I don't remember if that's in the book, but Charlotte says something that is really interesting. Like, I understand you don't like him, but you wouldn't be a fool to say no to such a man, because he was really rich. So if he was interested in Elizabeth, Elizabeth would make an effort. Okay, what else happens at the ball? Do you remember? Do you remember Elizabeth's family? What happens?
The mother, Elizabeth, it's not convenient. And Elizabeth think, oh my God, I'm very
embarrassed.
Yeah. Yes, it's very embarrassing. Oh my God. What? Elizabeth trying control your mother. It's so difficult because your mother.
And she talks about the wedding, right? She talks about Jane marrying Mr. Bingley as if it was something that would be happening like next month. And Elizabeth is like trying to control her, but she will not shut up.
Because the sisters, the Mr. Bingley, I don't like this idea, and the judgment, the comportamento. Oh my God, I don't remember.
She judges the behavior.
The behavior and the mother.
The mother and the three young sisters, right? Mary, Kitty, and Lydia.
Because it's not common in this age, the little sisters stay in society and they stay talking a lot of and they see the officials
dancing with the officers.
Yeah, this is crazy. If the officers very oh my God, I don't remember.
Yeah, the girls are silly and totally crazy about officers, except for Mary. I don't know if you remember that, but Mary was the one who was trying to play the piano, but she wasn't really good. She wanted to sing,
Yes.
but she wasn't good, and everybody was making fun of her.
Yeah. She's not okay. She's the same in the mother in this family. Only Elizabeth and Jane, it's more control, it's more
Mhm.
central. So
Yeah,
it's interesting.
light.
Parents. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, even though Jane and Elizabeth, and we're going to talk about this, Jane and Elizabeth, they are totally different from one another, but they are the two girls in the family who can, they can behave well, and they can talk to any person without exposing themselves.
Yes.
But I still like Mrs. Bennet. She's funny.
Yeah. Yes, but in this moment, for your sister, your daughters, your farm, the behavior in the place, it's not good because also in this age, it's very important the appearance, the
Mhm.
appearance.
Appearance,
So
physical appearance.
yes, this is not help in the family. It's a little, oh my God. No sentido de, tipo, ela tá atrapalhando todo mundo.
Yeah, she's embarrassing everybody. She's ruining everybody's plans, including Jane's, right?
Yeah.
Because well, we're gonna talk about that, right? Jane
Yeah.
she really loved Mr. Bingley. Mr. Bingley loved Jane, but what else happened at the ball? Okay, Mr. Wickham said he was coming, but he was going to the ball, but he actually didn't go to the ball. And Elizabeth was really frustrated when she got there and she found out that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Mr. Darcy, I'm sorry, Mr. Collins dances with Elizabeth. Mr. Collins is not a good dancer.
No. And the bar.
Yeah, and
bar
and he's talking about stuff like nobody can stand Mr. Collins. And there is Elizabeth dances with Mr. Darcy, and it's a strange kind of conversation because they cannot really. Mr. Darcy wanted to be close to her, but he doesn't talk a lot. And Elizabeth makes fun of him kind of because he asked her to dance, but he says nothing. And then we have Elizabeth's family situation because her mom was being ridiculous. Some of the sisters were being ridiculous, and Jane was affected by this behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the next chapter. So you see, as I told Alvaro, there is a lot going on in these 10 chapters, right? So why, in your opinion, did Mr. Collins believe that Elizabeth wouldn't say no to his proposal? Why do you think Mr. Collins was 100% sure that Elizabeth would take him?
Because he think he's a good guy. He thinks he's a better option Elizabeth has.
Full of himself.
Yeah.
So he's like, why wouldn't a girl accept to marry me? Yeah, I am under the protection of Lady Catherine the Bug.
Exactly. I remember the scene of the movie when Elizabeth refused his proposal. When he asked his proposal, and he's still trying to convince her because he thought he didn't understand that she was really
yeah, he was like,
refusing.
I know that ladies will say no in the first time because it's a custom, but they will say yes. And Elizabeth is like, really?
He don't believe she don't want her. Because
he's totally like, why would she say no?
Yeah, he didn't accept the possibility. He was not prepared.
He was not ready to be refused. That's the point. He wasn't. He was so sure that she would say yes. And then there is the inheritance thing, right? He thought Elizabeth would say yes First, because it wasn't as if she had a lot of options, and second, because that would be a guarantee for the family of keeping the house after Mr. Bennett passing away.
Yes, has this point too, because women can could stay with the money of the family after the father dying. So for ele estava fazendo favor para ela também na cabeça dele.
Exactly. Yeah, he knocked on the door as if he was there to save the family from losing the house.
Yes, this is he thinking about this. So it's very frustrating for him when she say no, never, no way.
Yeah, so Elizabeth in the movie, she's very assertive in making him understand she will not say yes no matter what. So it's like Elizabeth says, I would rather be homeless than I would rather be homeless and make my family homeless than marry you. So it's interesting because we have those two sides of the story, right? Elizabeth, she wouldn't accept to marry a man to save her family, so to say, not even to save herself from becoming poor and homeless. And Mr. Collins was 100% sure that any girl in the world in that situation would say yes. Do you think Jane would have said yes because of the family?
I think yes, because Jane think a lot of the family, think a lot of quer ser agradável,
Yes, she wants to help, she wants to be helpful, she wants to be of use.
I think Jane it's sacrifice for family.
She would, but Elizabeth didn't.
No, because
I think
it's
go
a
ahead.
lot of for her. Okay, go on.
No, it's. I mean, if Elizabeth had had accepted to marry Mr. Collins, I wouldn't. I would be very disappointed. There wouldn't be a book in the first place if she had married Mr. Collins.
I think maybe the father's her no can Janie married you with Mr. Collins because he don't like his too.
Yeah, so maybe Mr. Bennett wouldn't have permitted even Jane to marry him. But I think the perfect match for Mr. Collins would have been Mary, the third girl.
Yeah,
they are so much alike. They would have been perfect for each other. And every time I read this book, whenever I read the book or watch the movie, I'm like, why didn't anybody think about that? Because Mary's perfect for him. They would have been happy together.
It's true. It's more possible successful for him.
Yeah, sure thing. That would have.
She's not a gracious. She's not a beautiful, a gorgeous for him, because it's not a choice. I think.
Yeah, Mary wasn't an option for him.
Yeah, wasn't an option.
So Mr. Collins, he wanted it all, right? The best of both worlds. He wanted to marry a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Poor Mr. Collins. So in chapter 20, then there is that mess, right? That fuss over the proposal, right? And was Mr. Bennet's behavior towards Elizabeth surprising? Do you think her father had a surprising behavior, considering that it was the 1700s, considering that parents would decide about their kids, especially women? So he sort of Mr. What's his name again? Oh my God. Mr. Bennett saved Elizabeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Bennett saved. And Mrs. Bennett, I don't like the idea Elizabeth say no. But
so the mother wanted to force her into the marriage.
Yes, but Mr. Bennet, it's help Elizabeth and save her because he have the different form for see the things. So it's good for this family because she's saving in the moment.
Yeah. So he was actually, you know, we understand that their tempers, Mr. Bennet and Elizabeth's, are more similar than Elizabeth and her mother's, for example, because her mother was thinking about the family, thinking about keeping the house, thinking about the future. But Mr. Bennet only wanted to save Elizabeth from a disaster.
Yeah, that's true.
That was my favorite part of this chapter, in my opinion, because when Mr. Bennet starts talking with Elizabeth, he says something like, her mother say that that she would talk to her, and she wouldn't talk to her about this anymore. And her father say that if
you married,
if he had married, he wouldn't talk to her. He wouldn't
talk I like to her
never.
Part.
Yeah, it's like from this day on, you will be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never talk to you again if you don't marry Mr. Collins, and I will never talk to you again if you do.
If you marry,
if you marry him. So I so love Mr. Bennet at this point in the chapter and in the movie. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, he's so smart. Oh God, he saved her. Yeah, he saved her.
Yeah, it was a great plot twist. I was not expecting.
I wasn't expecting that. I was well, in the first time I read the book and I watched the movie, my feeling was Mr. Bennet would say, "It's your choice." He wouldn't have forced her, but he wouldn't have said such a thing like, "If you want to go ahead and marry him," but he does the opposite. He sort of forbids her from marrying him. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next one, when you read about Caroline's letter, so after this thing, we still have one more dramatic moment. That's when Jane gets Caroline's letter saying they had left Netherfield. They would be in London for who knows how long. And what was your first thought and reaction when you read Caroline's letter? I got really mad at Caroline. I knew she was plotting.
Carol, remember me, please. Caroline is the sister of the Mr. Bingley.
Yes, Mr. Bingley's sister.
Okay. What's your question?
About the letter. Remember, Caroline writes a letter to Jane.
For Jane. Yeah.
So what was your first thought or reaction? You thought that this is Caroline plotting against
Caroline is false with Jane, and the maldosa.
Yeah, she's evil.
Yes, she's evil with Jane because she says things for Jane, forget your brother, and say things about other woman. Maybe forget my brother. He like other woman.
Yeah, he likes Mr. Darcy's sister, Georgiana.
Yes, Gianna is perfect. Do you know?
Georgiana is an accomplished girl. Yeah. She is this and she is that. She does this and she does that. She's perfect and she loves her. He loves her.
And this broke the heart the Jane because she's believing in Caroline. Different, but the Elizabeth know Caroline is evil, but Jane don't want to see this thing.
Elizabeth saw from the beginning that Caroline was being polite just because she had to, but she didn't really like them.
Yeah,
but Jane was all like, she's sweet.
Yeah, Jane believed in the better of the people. Ours.
Yeah,
Jane, but this is a problem because she don't want to see the bad things the person doing. So this is a problem for her.
Yes, because Jane always believes nobody means to hurt other people. Nobody really means to be evil or do something
Yes,
wrong.
até mesmo about Mr. Darcy. Jane see good
Mhm.
things about her.
Even Mr. Darcy that everyone else hated.
Yeah, yeah,
So she's only a bit mad when she hears that Mr. Darcy said Elizabeth wasn't beautiful, and then she gets a bit like, how could she? How could he say such a thing? And
yeah. It's true. She's surprised.
she's
So I
surprised.
don't.
Yeah. Okay, so what about you, Alvaro? What was your first thought or reaction when you read Caroline's letter to Jane?
Yeah, I didn't like it yet. She seems very toxic.
Yeah, exactly. A very toxic kind of friend.
Yes, she's pretending she's a good person, but she's very toxic.
Yeah,
Perfect. Your
it's like
answer is perfect.
yeah, toxic is it's the best adjective ever to describe Caroline Bingley.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Caroline Bingley, we don't like
Alvaro
you.
has a success for describe Caroline.
Yes, very. Okay, so after that, we have something very important too, that is Charlotte getting married to Mr. Collins or accepting Mr. Collins' proposal, right?
Yeah.
Charlotte was Elizabeth's best friend. And do you think Charlotte somehow made up a story so that Mr. Collins would propose to her? Like, do you think Charlotte did it on purpose? Hey, he didn't marry Jane. He's not going to marry Elizabeth. This is my chance to get a husband. Do you think this is what she did? Or Mr. Collins was the one who thought about, proposing to Charlotte?
Why Mr. Collins proposed Charlotte?
Yes. Do you think Charlotte sort of tried to make him propose, like tried to make Mr. Collins like her?
Okay.
Or do you think Mr. Collins was it was like natural for Mr. Collins? Well, okay, the sisters don't want me to, maybe the neighbor does.
I think Mr. Carlos natural following the neighbors because Elizabeth feriu tipo, o orgulho dele.
Yes, hurt his feelings. Elizabeth hurt his pride.
Yes, so Mr. Carlos don't don't see your para ele cumpriu a obrigação de tentar salvar a família no
Yes.
sentido financeiro. Como ela não quis, ele falou, então eu vou para outra família, eu não tenho obrigação nenhuma aqui, eu fui maltratado.
Yes.
Aí ele desprezou
And
também.
and Charlotte, she sort of, Elizabeth used Charlotte sometimes because she would be patient with Mr. Collins. So Mr. Collins decided, okay, maybe Charlotte is a good option. But
Yeah.
Do you think it was surprising because Charlotte and Elizabeth, they were somehow, they had similar characters, right? Similar personalities.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth, when Charlotte said she had got engaged, Elizabeth was like, what?
Yeah,
she
but
was really mad.
Charlotte has a... Sorry.
Go on.
Go on.
I was saying she was really mad because she didn't like that Charlotte accepted Mr.
Yeah.
Collins' proposal. And Charlotte was kind of thinking that she was, how can I say, a bargain? I forgot the word. Tipo, peso para a família, because she was getting old and she had to find someone. So, and
she was a burden to her family already.
Burden, yes, a burden to her family. And she had to accept because it could be her last chance or something like this.
You see, this is what makes me think it was Charlotte's intention from the very first moment to make Mr. Collins make her an offer. I think Charlotte wasn't innocent in this story. I think
but I think that's a point. And Charlotte and Elizabeth has a difference. Elizabeth wanted the marriage for love. Charlotte no. Charlotte have the fields in the floor because Charlotte no. It's necessary marriage for no poor and have a difficulties in the life.
She only wants somebody to protect her.
Yes, she sees the opportunity too. And she, lógico que ela se mostrou, tipo, tô aqui. Se quiser casar comigo, eu tô indo.
I think it was something like that. Hey, a Elizabeth não te quis não, mas eu tô aqui disponível.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. So this.
Yeah, I think it was Charlotte was, you know, from the beginning. If Elizabeth said no, maybe this is my chance to get a husband to protect me, to take care of me, and
the better economy, because her family it's not a very rich.
Yes, her father was he had a title, right? He was he had been knighthood, I think. He was a sir, but they have no money.
So this is the opportunity for the better life, the better health. I think so.
Yeah, I think, and this leads me to my second question about this aspect of the book. So Charlotte says, I am already 29. I have no money. I have no, my family isn't rich. I'm already a burden to my parents. I have no perspectives. So for me, it totally it's like she says, it totally makes sense for me to marry him, because it might be the only chance I have of actually marrying somebody who's offering me protection, a house, comfort, protection. So do you think, I'm sorry?
For Charlotte, Mr. Collins is safe. Ele meio que salvou ela mesmo, nesse sentido, que ele achava que ele era para Elizabeth, ele foi para Charlotte.
Exactly. So this is what I was going to ask you. Do you think Charlotte was right? Do you think she should have accepted Mr. Collins?
Sorry.
I
don't understand the question.
Do you think Charlotte was right? She was very practical, right?
Okay.
But do you think it was okay?
Maybe
2021, maybe it's not okay, but 250 years ago.
And na época, né, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a question of surviving, basically.
It was a matter of surviving. It was a matter of like having a chance of living a life, but because she wasn't beautiful. I remember Mrs. Bennet, sempre ela, né, in the beginning of the book and then in the beginning of the movie. Oh, it's a pity she isn't beautiful. As in, she's plain. Actually, she doesn't say she's not beautiful. She says she's plain. It's as if she's not ugly, but she's not beautiful either. She's plain. And Elizabeth is like, mother. And Mrs. Darcy, tipo, no, Mr. Bennet, Mrs. Bennet says, ela não é mesmo. So this was Elizabeth was beautiful, Jane was beautiful, so they had a chance, right, of finding a man who would fall in love with them and marry them. But Charlotte admitted that she wasn't a beautiful girl. She was old. She was 29, right? But she was old at that point. So she didn't have many chances.
Your opportunities are little opportunities for Charlotte. So
I don't blame her. I pity her, but I don't blame her. Então, Mr. Collins, gente, já falou.
But assim, thinking in the age, do you understand? Because if she don't marry, she's don't have any opportunity. she don't want to working, she don't want to um, ela ia ficar sem dinheiro, sem ninguém, sem casa para morar. Então,
Basically,
ele era ótimo para a situação dela, entendeu?
it was a matter of survival, and he was under the protection of the Grand Lady Catherine de
Yeah.
Bourgh. So they would have a comfortable house, right? He wouldn't stop talking about this Lady Catherine. A gente ainda vai chegar na Lady Catherine, but I hate Lady Catherine.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
She's
terrible.
unbearable. Yeah. Oh my God. She's terrible. She's awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is there is a conversation between between Mr. Darcy and I'm sorry, not Mr. Darcy. Mr. Darcy is not here yet. Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Bennet. Do you think Mrs. Bennet was absolutely concerned about the future of the family, the future of the daughters? Like if Mr. Bennet dies tomorrow, we're not going to have a house to live in. But do you think Mr. Bennet, on the other hand, if he is concerned, I think he doesn't show it, right? But do you think it was somehow in Mr. Bennet's mind? So what's going to happen to my daughters if I pass away?
I think so. Because she's the kind of sarcastic guy and stuff, but she cares about his family. So yeah, I think so. She's worried about it.
But he never really demonstrates it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what makes you think he was, in fact, concerned about his daughters?
I think maybe he think about all their parents,
Relatives.
Yes, all the relatives can help her, or I don't know if he has a plan for her, but pela tranquilidade dele, ele devia ter alguma, porque
Yeah, he never actually showed any concern about his family becoming homeless after his death.
yeah, I think that's it. About any relatives help her if anything with he
happens with him.
Happens with him. Yeah.
Yeah, we know at this point, I think we know at this point that Mrs. Bennet has a brother who lives in London, and he had succeeded, right? He made money with trade. And in the book, they had kids, but in the movie, they had no kids, I think. So maybe for some reason, Mr. Bennet believed that, okay, if something happens to me, there is my wife's brother, and he's going to take care of them.
Yeah.
Which is not totally okay, right?
No. I think he don't think about anything could happen with he. Eu acho que ele não pensava que poderia acontecer algo tão cedo com ele.
Yeah.
Nesse sentido também.
Yeah, he said there is one this one is in the book. I might live longer than Mr. Collins and something like that. So he was sort of careless in that regard, right? He wasn't really worried about what could happen. Okay, so in chapter 24, there is a dialogue between Elizabeth and Jane about the letter, about Caroline, about Mr. Bingley, about how Jane feels towards Mr. Bingley having left without a word. So what do you think are the main differences and similarities between Jane and Elizabeth?
Well, I think I cannot see anything like Elizabeth. Actually, she's very unique in my opinion, but she is very friendly with Jane, and they have something in common. They they have a they have a strong personality, both them. I think Jane is not Elizabeth is not so silly as Jane, but
yeah, Jane is sweet-tempered. She's lovely. She's the kind of girl that everybody thinks is she's adorable. She's an angel.
yes, I seem silly. It's like this that I was trying to
Yeah.
tell. She's
Now, silly is not
really,
offensive. Don't
yeah,
worry.
yeah.
Jane wouldn't have gotten offended.
Jenny
Yeah.
try show for Elizabeth. I don't care about Mr. Bingley. No problem. Tipo, eu vou superar, não tem problema.
I'll get over it.
Yes. So, but Elizabeth, no, she's
She's suffering.
Yeah, she's suffering. Her heart is broken, and Elizabeth is worse with her.
Yes, Elizabeth is mad at Mr. Bingley, not because Mr. Bingley left, but she was sure that it had been her sister's idea. So Elizabeth is mad at him accepting what his sister did.
Yes, she knows it's because the sisters, not because of Bingley. Because she knows the Bingley is same Jane.
That's my point. Yes, Bingley and Jane, they are much alike, right? They are both very understanding and sweet and friendly. So Bingley wouldn't have said anything against his sister and Mr. Darcy because they made him believe Jane didn't like him.
Yes, because Jane is more introspective.
Yes, and introspective, maybe an introvert. She was shy.
Maybe, yeah, that's it.
So it wasn't difficult for Mr. Darcy and Caroline to convince Mr. Bingley that Jane didn't like him.
Because both Jane and Mr. Bingley believe more easy in the persons around her. So it's more easy convince these people.
Yeah, and it was totally it was easy also for Jane. As she read the letter, she thought, okay, he doesn't like me, he likes Georgiana, and that's it.
Yeah.
She doesn't even question the Caroline's letter.
But Jane wants to show for her sister it's not true.
Yeah, but she wants to stay strong.
Yes, but it's difficult to convince Jane this because Mr. Bingley left, so I can't doing.
Yeah, poor Jane. I feel for her, and I want so bad to kill Caroline. But it's good that we have it. Oh, the thing I like the most about the movie and the book is how Caroline tries to make Mr. Darcy like her, and he's like totally indifferent.
Yeah,
this is my revenge.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so chapter 25, this is the last one we're going to talk about today. And there is this, everybody talks about Mr. Wickham. So what was the general opinion in Meryton, in Longbourn, in the country, in that part of the country about Mr. Wickham? What did people think about Mr. Wickham?
Where Mr. Wickham stay in the moment, the people think he's adorable, he's good, but in the places the Mr. Wickham, tipo, que ele saiu, que ele estava.
The places he had been before.
Yes, before the persons know he's not a good guy. He's a problem.
Yes, he was trouble.
Yeah, esquece.
Yeah, we can say he was trouble.
Yeah, he's trouble.
Okay, but everybody likes Mr. Wickham. He's very friendly. He talks to everybody. All the girls are crazy about him. All the girls want to go to balls and dance with. They want to have Mr. Wickham's attention.
Sure.
So why do you think he chose Elizabeth as his first, or as the first target of his attentions? It was just a matter of opportunity, or he actually saw something in Elizabeth?
I don't understand well the question.
Because Elizabeth was the first girl in the town to whom Mr. Wickham gave more attention, and the people could notice that they had a stronger attachment, or he had. Oops, hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can see you normally.
No, it's Letícia who's frozen.
Travou para mim.
Ok, voltamos?
Tá voltando agora.
Okay. So my question was, if everybody. Okay. Everybody noticed that Elizabeth was the first girl to whom Mr. Wickham gave more attention. He would spend more time talking to Elizabeth. They were becoming closer. So why do you think Mr. Wickham chose Elizabeth as the target of his attention?
Because Elizabeth is interesting, she's smart, is very beautiful and intelligent. I think so. Elizabeth despertou o interesse.
She made him interested in her.
Yes, she made him interested in her.
And you, Alvaro, why do you think Mr. Wickham chose Elizabeth?
Yeah, I don't remember about these details, but I think that's it, because Elizabeth, as I said, is unique. So
her unique character. So
yes,
not even Mr. Wickham, the bad guy, could resist Elizabeth, right?
Yes.
We can't. I cannot. I'm totally like, oh my God. I wish I could be like Elizabeth just a little bit. She's so fantastic. Okay, guys. So this is what I have for today. We have just finished discussing the main points until chapter 25. For the next one, we're going to read 10 or 15 chapters. It depends on how long they are. Okay. And we're going to continue. I want really bad to get to the point in which you know that it's not a spoiler because you have seen the movie, right? You have read the book in Portuguese. I want us to talk about the first proposal, the first of Mr. Darcy's proposals.
It's amazing.
It's awesome. I thought Elizabeth was going to punch him in the face.
It's good. I like this part.
For one moment, for a very short moment, I thought she was going to say yes. But then I thought, no, this is Elizabeth. She's not going to say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for coming. And we're going to have a new session again, probably next month. And we're going to come up with something interesting for us to discuss. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You guys have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
See you.
See you.